level. In today's session, we are seeing the USDJPY consolidating closer to the 103.7 levels, and after this due consolidation, I feel that the breakout is imminent, and we are looking at a bearishness being the prevailing theme in next couple of sessions. So I am looking for a breakout on the bearish side. So we will find out if there are opportunities in today's session to capitalize on the emerging situation. If we look at the data docket for the day, apart from the China GDP number, there were not many major data releases coming in for the day. And if we look at the China's GDP numbers, it is better than expected. And we saw that for the fourth quarter of last year, the China's quarterly numbers are outstanding, where the GDP growth is at 6.5% in terms of annualized reading. And if we look at the GDP growth for the full year, the financial year 2020, then it is at 2.6%, and China might be the only major economy in the world which has grown last year. If you look at the other major economies around the world, most of the countries are going to experience the contraction. So on that front, the China has been an outlier, even though the pandemic began there. Moving on to the North American trading session, we also got the housing starts number for the Canada. So this is a minor release. I have included it in today's session, and here also the softness is fairly visible. The housing starts for the month of December are lower by almost 12 percentage point, and in terms of units, the total starts stand at 228,000, which is as I said 12% lower compared to the prior month's reading at almost 260,000. Now moving on to the technical segment, we will first cover the USDJPY, and along with that we will also see what's happening in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Let's get started with the USDJPY's technical outlook. This is the daily time frame chart, and here after finding resistance closer to this descending trend line, we saw that the USDJPY has been unable to cross and hold above the 104 level for last 2 to 3 trading sessions, and even in today's session during the initial hours it opened on the higher side, but from the levels close to 104 it has only declined and not really been able to hold on to the initial gains. And as the day has progressed, I think the trend is turning bearish, and though there is not much of a movement as of now, but given the long consolidation in place, I feel that we should be gearing up for the possible breakout. It might be on the either side, but the probabilities are a lot higher for the bearish breakout. And from that perspective, I think some of the key levels to watch out for is going to be around this central pivot point. We have the central pivot point for this month at 103.62, and if we look at the price action for last couple of sessions, the USDJPY has been holding above it. If we get the breakout below this key level, then I think the further decline is likely to be seen in the USDJPY, and then the next target will work out closer to the prior swing low, the first support of this month's pivot point series, from where the rally began during the first week of this month, and that is the level I will be targeting if we see the breakout on the current consolidation phase just below this immediate support. And if you look at the regression curve, it has been inclined on the higher side, but now that the price action has moved in the lower band, we can expect it to flatten to some extent, and we will see that it will be adding to the confirmatory factors in due course of time. But for the time being, we will indeed have to rely more on the price action and the pivot point series. So here, if we are going to target the bearish trade, I think we will have to utilize this confluence zone of 50, 100 and 200 SMAs, this price zone of around 103.8 to 103.9 holds the key for any possible move, and as long as the price action is being constrained on the higher side by this resistance zone, I think we will have more probability of making profit. So from that perspective, the entry anywhere in the price band of 103.7 to 103.8 should be good enough in today's session, while keeping the stop loss just little above these prior swing high. So for the day, the stop loss anywhere closer to 104 should be good enough, while we are targeting the price of around 103 on the lower side. So for a risk of around 30 pips, we can be hopeful of making around 60 pips on the higher side. So we don't really need the USDJPY to even decline to 102.5, which is the eventual target. But from short to medium term perspective, even if the price declines to 103 or anywhere closer to that, that should be good enough. Now moving on to the equity segment, here we will see the technical outlook for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. This is the daily time frame chart, and here we saw the bearish breakout on last Friday after finding it hard to sustain above the 31,000. In last week, we had looked at this possibility, and the breakout on the lower side was fairly imminent. And as I remember, even one of the sessions I had talked about this possibility. Even now, after this sharp move in the Friday session, even in today's session, the undertone remains bearish, though we are not really seeing any big move. And the Dow Jones Industrial Average has spent most of the day consolidating closer to the Friday's lows. And if we want to utilize this opportunity, I think we will have to look for the bearish trading opportunity, that is the short selling, and we will have to rely on the lower time frame chart. So here we have the resistance in place in form of the first resistance of this month's pivot point series. The Dow Jones Industrial Average had indeed broken above it, but in due course of time, we again saw this decline, and now it is below it. And I think unless and until we have fresh breakout above this key level, we can be hopeful of the bearishness being the prevalent theme in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and on the lower side, we can even look forward to the possible decline towards this central pivot point, which is there around 30,200. So, looking at that, and even if we consider this regression curve, now the price action is slowly shifting in the bearish territory, and in due course of time, we can expect this curve to flatten also. And as I said, the longer term trend still remains bullish, but we are talking about here from the short to medium term perspective, and uh, from that perspective, we can indeed look for fresh trade, which we can target the entry price anywhere around these 30,900 to 31,000 is the confluence zone of 50, 100 and 200 SMAs, and this should be the desired entry point. We are almost more than 100 pips away from the desired price area. So if in today's session we see some sort of move on the higher side, and if we can get the entry closer to this resistance zone, then that will reduce our stop loss levels. We will have fairly sharp stop loss. I think the stop loss anywhere closer to the 31,200 should be good enough for the trading session. And if we are fortunate enough, and if we see the possible move toward this resistance zone, then we will also need to wait for the consolidation, and only after that do consolidation we can be ready to get involved for the trading opportunity, the sell trade in the price band of 30,900 to 31,000, while keeping the stop loss just closer to 31,200. So we are going to take almost 1 percentage point risk, and in lieu of that, we can target the 2 percentage point move on the higher side. And as I said while explaining the 4 hourly chart, we are looking at the decline to take the the Dow Jones Industrial Average towards even 30,200 price area. So we will be looking at the possible move of 2 percentage point on the lower side if things go as per the plan. So that's it from my side for today's session. If any of you have any query or any idea to share, you can write to me and I will be more than happy to take the discussion forward. Before I sign off, I would also like to remind of the risk associated with trading in the financial instrument, and one should be careful while using the information provided. Have a fabulous day ahead. Do subscribe to the Ducoscopy webinar channel. Goodbye.